divided in half. Buenas and half a day. Thank you for being here, all of you, and good morning to everyone. It's a great pleasure. We're here today to present resolution number 154-35 to Ms. Emily Barcelisa Guerrero Sablan, to recognize and congratulate her on the occasion of her retirement after 16 years of outstanding service as an outreach and education bilingual interpretive park ranger with the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, Guam National Wildlife Refuge. Emily served at the Retidian Unit, also known as Letexen, one of the most culturally rich and significant places on our island, containing an abundance of cultural resources such as lattice sets, water wells, limestone mortars, cave drawings, pottery, and shell artifacts, and limestone forests almost 4,000 years old, and serving as a habitat for many of Guam's endangered species such as the Marianas fruit bat and the Marianas crow. The National Park Service was granted control of Retidian over the objection of original landowners who continued to fight for return of these lands, and is a place that many in our community are working to protect from the establishment of a firing range adjacent to it. Ms. Sablan has contributed greatly to the education of our community on the significance and the need for protection of cultural, historical, fish and wildlife resources of Letexen and Guam, and continues to do so even in retirement. So we are here to present this resolution with the assistance of the Speaker, Tina Muñoz Barnes of the 35th Guam Legislature, with Senator Sabina Perez and Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano. And they're going to help me really give more credit to Ms. Sablan, if they may.
I'm really honored to be here today to present Resolution 154-35 COR. It's relative to recognizing and congratulating Emily Barcelisa Guerrero Sablan on the occasion of her retirement after 16 years of outstanding service with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Guam National Wildlife Refuge Retidian Unit, and to further extend a warm and a sincere undunkalu nasuzuz maasi for her tireless commitment and dedication to the protection of Guam's cultural, historical, fish, and wildlife resources. Be it resolved by the Committee on Rules, y Mina 35 na Legislatura en Guahan, whereas Emily Barcelisa Guerrero Sablan is a daughter of Maria Lujan Guerrero, familia Anonas, and Jose Pangilinan Sablan, familia Matli, from the village of Toto. And whereas Emily has served Guam for over 20 years in different capacities as a member of the Guam Parole Board and Pardon Review Board from 1999 to 2003, as a Guam Department of Education Chamorro Language and Cultural teacher from 2000 to 2003, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Guam National Wildlife Refuge, Retidian Unit, Outreach and Education Bilingual Interpretive Park Ranger from the years 2003 to 2019. Whereas Emily started her career with the U.S. Women's Army Corps in March 1972, assigned to the U.S. Women's Army Corps Detachment at Fort Monroe, Virginia. Her military career as a telecommunications specialist directed her towards communications and outreach and enhanced her abilities as an environmental educator, park ranger, and wildlife conservationist. And whereas Emily was assigned to the Guam National Wildlife Refuge at Retidian Letexen, where ancient villages, pictograph caves, and other historic properties are located, she has made herself available when needed to organize tours for the community to visit our precious cultural historical sites that depict life at Retidian or Letexen thousands of years ago. And whereas over the years, Emily has helped to enhance the knowledge and awareness of thousands of our students by leading numerous field trip programs, engaging children in hands-on activities to learn the site's historical, cultural significance, resources, and different life forms of the habitat, and by facilitating student volunteerism. And whereas Emily has served as a facilitator for cultural practitioners expressing concerns about the infringement on cultural practices and traditions by bringing these issues to the refuge management. Whereas Emily has committed her spare time and energy to the perpetuation of Chamorro language, traditional culture, practices as a former member of the Ginan Ihila Imagatata Siha, or From the Tongues of Noble People, Storytelling Association, former member of TASI, which is the Traditions About Seafaring Islands, a current member of TASA, Traditions Affirming Our Seafaring Ancestry. And in 2012, she represented Guam as a delegate to the Festival of the Pacific Arts held in Auraria, Solomon Islands. And
whereas on June 3rd, 2019, retired from the United States Department of Interior, United States Fish and Wildlife Service as an outreach and education bilingual interpretive park ranger at the Guam National Wildlife Refuge. After 16 years to the community, education and the protection of Guam's threatened and endangered and cultural and historical resources. And whereas Emily Barcelisa Guerrero Sablan is a cherished member of our island community that has contributed greatly to the protection of cultural, historical, fish and wildlife resources of Guam, and continues to do so even in retirement. And whereas in full accordance with its longstanding traditions, Y Legislatura en Guahan commends and honors members of our community whose diligent service has considerably contributed to the well-being of our community. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Committee on Rules of Y Minatrentai na Legislatura en Guahan does hereby, on behalf of the people of Guam, recognize and congratulate Emily Barcelisa Guerrero Sablan on the occasion of her retirement. After 16 years of outstanding service with the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, Guam National Wildlife Refuge, Retidian Unit, and does further extend a warm and sincere Ndunkalu na Sazuas Maasi to her for her tireless commitment and dedication to the protection of Guam's cultural, historical, fish and wildlife resources, and be it further resolved that the Speaker and the Chairperson of the Committee on Rules certify and the Legislative Secretary attest to the adoption hereof, and that copies of the same be hereafter transmitted to Emily Barcelisa Guerrero Sablan, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, Guam National Wildlife Refuge, Retidian Unit, and to the Honorable Lourdes A. Leon Guerrero y Magahagan Guahan. This was duly and regularly adopted by the Committee on Rules of Y Minatrentai na Legislatura en Guahan on the 17th day of June, 2019. It was signed by the Speaker, Tina Rose Munoz Barnes, the Chairperson of the Committee on Rules, Regine Viscoli, and the Legislative Secretary, Amanda L. Shelton.
And now if I could ask our speaker to help us to present this award to Emily, this resolution sponsored by all the members of the 35th Guam Legislature.
Si Zeus Maasi, Senator Terlaje, and Manana Si Zeus, Amzutotus Gwini. It truly is a delightful pleasure and honor to be here this morning to present this resolution. I want to thank Senator Therese Terlaje for always remembering the great work that's done by Italtalta, our people, and more fitting that I ask Senator Terlaje, as one who continues to advocate for preservation, culture, and all that, I think all her life, I want to say, only fitting, Senator, that you join me and we'll present this together to her, and give this to Auntie Emily. Undunklo na si Zeus Masi for all your years of service here to our people of Guam, but more importantly, the preservation, the perpetuation, and the love that you have in your heart to preserve who we are as island people. Undunklo na si Zeus Masi, si Zeus and Bini DC how, Zeni familianmu, then God bless you and all that you do for your new journey in life. Viva! Thank you, Senator. Thank you. And then give you something to.
Emily like to say a few words.
Wow, I did all that? No wonder I'm tired. Has, you know, that job, when I came to Guam, had no idea that I was going to be running all over the jungles of Litekjan. But first of all, I would like to thank all of you. Toru Hamzini Familaku, Manana Sijus, and Hafaday. Sijus Masia Pepinatun Miju, thank you all for being here. I have here in this room people who have helped me make those 16 years. I couldn't have done that work all alone. When I first came to the refuge, there was only 3 people. Then it grew to 7. And now, minus me, there's only 4. So please be patient with our staff when nobody's answering the phone, especially because I'm usually the indoor person and most of them are out in the field. So I ask you that. But being down there 16 years, I couldn't have done that alone because I would handle 150 kids a day. And without my volunteers, who are a big, essential part of that job, I would be remiss to say I did it all alone, and if I didn't call them out. I have some of them here. Unfortunately, it is a work day, and most of our volunteers are just that, volunteers. They do have jobs, other places. And before I share one favorite story of being a park ranger, and I need to tell this because that's what made me stay 16 years, because I was always wanting to go outside to the public to see what stories I hear that comes with conservation and preservation. But before I do that, I'd like to have the new refuge manager, Miss Tammy Summers. She came in just in time to sign my retirement papers because we had no boss in September of last year, and I've been trying to get out. Now that I'm civilian, I can tell you that. Okay, we have volunteers that have been there for me, for the children, for the people of Guam, through Camp Shutterbug, through walking the 3-mile hike to the lost Retidian village that was finally rediscovered December 2014, cleaning the Tanangtangan and all the fallen trees after typhoons. And these people have work to do at home, but I know they love coming down there because really that is a healing place. I've been sick several times over, and every time I came back there, all they did was raise me back up. So, first, this isn't in any order of, because you saw me over there trying to get it in order, but, so they're all important, all of them. All these people I'm going to be calling up. Some certificates I didn't get to finish, but I will call them up because it's still at my desk. I will return this week. I still have to go back and clean my desk, people. Okay. Joseph Babauta, he was our weaver. He instructed children to weave during our Camp Shutterbug at the mall. And his wife, Arlene, also tagged along, because what does the wife do when the husband volunteers? She's not going to sit home, so we drag her out to Miss Arlene Sidusmasi. That's just right there. And the next one is Mr. Joaquin Feggerger, another weaver, retired military, and he supports us by coming and showing the children how to weave. Unfortunately, Mr. Luis Santos, who's our official photographer. He started off as a Hagen watcher. He took some good footages in the middle of the night into the wee morning hours when the mother turtle would lay her eggs, and he was there, but he's a firefighter at the airport, so unfortunately he probably couldn't escape. Sherry Marie Iriarte, recently returning to Guam after Frank retired. They have been our, wow, you should see this lady work after a typhoon. Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, I can do this, and Brian, it couldn't be here, but Brian would be so proud that I'm giving these out. Brian Leon Guerrero is my partner there for the longest time. Ignacio Nash Camacho, he unfortunately, our brother has passed, but he was one of, Miss Mary Phillips is accepting the certificate for Nash. Francis S.N. Iriarte, retired from the military in Virginia, somewhere there, and he decided he had to come back home. So I will call out the names. Jolene Bora, thank you, Frank. Jolene Bora is from the DYA Haja in Agate. They volunteered when I came back to work after being ill last year in 2018. I could not lead the children for Camp Shutterbug. Mr. Fred Alec and Jolene Borja from DYA Haja came down and they led the kids to continue the program. Mr. Roland Miranda from Micronesia Mall, he was always gracious to not charge us anything for using the mall. So he's supposed to be here. Mr. Ruben Olivas, he's a photographer who also helped out with Camp Shutterbug. Mr. Joe Cruz and Lewis did a workshop for photography for Camp Shutterbug for children to learn things as lighting, shadows, and things as such. And I've got Ms. Julie Lebreton. She, I could never get your last name. She's a Farron. That I can say. She's at the desk. Yeah, thank you, Jules. She's worked endless. 2017 Camp Shutterbug, we didn't get to sleep till 3 in the morning trying to get the display board up and the children's pictures posted. Off-island volunteers, and I'm going to mail these out. Lynn Sinclair Handley, she's from the Topanga Mountains in Los Angeles. Jenica Sablon Torres, my daughter, she's in Arizona. Florida Hernandez is from Silmar, California. These people just walk in there and say, I'd like to help. I'd like to help whatever you can do. And her son, Isaiah Brown, in Silmar, California. I mentioned Fred Alec. Rick Nauta, Rick and Rita Nauta were both very helpful to the refugees, representing the refuge and exposing what programs we have, all for free. We didn't have to pay for advertisements. Art Pangilinan, a weaver, happens, he couldn't be here today. Pilar Luguana from GBB had always opened their doors for whatever they can give to the children as prizes, because we can't buy prizes with government money, and so all these people are willing to help out. And Mr. John Wang at Copy Express for always giving us discounts for the printing of the children's photos when we have Camp Shutterbug display at the mall. And Ms. Linda Tatro just walked in. From as long as I've been at Ritidian, she would come down there for her convertible, which I would be envious of. Come up here, please. She also was very instrumental in Marine Mania, Hagan Watch kids who would trek down Seti Bay to make sure that the nests were not disturbed. And Jerry, you didn't get the word that they changed it to 9 o'clock. Come up here. Jerry Flores, my one and very first volunteers. She did everything and anything. I've never, Jerry Flores, the sister of Goro Flores, who did our picture board down at the refuge. We have 2 picture boards down there. I've never seen a lady garbed in bush cutting attire, and everybody thought, wow, who's the new employee? I said, no, man, that's a volunteer. And thank you, Jerry. Yeah. She got her certificate some years back, because that's how long she's been there. And so, because all these people were there to help me out during my tenure down there, they always wonder how can, and boy, if I was slow then, I'm slower now, at 69. Anyhow, when I go out to outreach, they hold the fort down. They sit at the nature center and cover for me. So before I end, I don't think that I can finish this story today without telling you one of my favorite stories is why I go out to the schools. I usually bring my 2 turtles, the one they say karakot, the taxidermy turtles, one of a hawksbill and the other of a Pacific green sea. I was at Marshall Sablan Elementary School in Agate when I completed my my presentation about the Hagan. A little boy came up about, I think, kinder or first, and he couldn't wait to get my attention. He kept hitting my pant legs, saying, Senora, I have something to tell you. And of course, the child, I said, yes, Nanny, what is it? He said, my tata has one of those turtles in the tanki. The teacher said, Joshua, go to class. Class is over. And the teacher said, Miss Emily, what do you do with information like that? I said, nothing. And for the non-Chamorro speakers, the tanki is the 55-gallon drum in the back of the house with water. And he said, what do you do with information? I said, nothing. I do not educate to entrap. But as sure as heck, when I get up to retreat and tell my law enforcement, increase surveillance in Agate, because there's one in the tanki. I didn't get his name or nothing, because that's not my job. I'm not law enforcement. I'm the friendly ranger. So just mercy, everybody, for your time. I really cherish this moment. I'm humbled and honored. Thank you. Oh, I'm very sorry. Ay, Daniel Pangilinan, please come up. Sige, Magi. Daniel helps us by pruning our coconut trees because he comes to get coconut leaves, and so does Joe, so that our maintenance people don't have to cut the leaves and stuff. So they come and get leaves. Daniel also brings his trailer down and takes out all the coconuts that's laying on the ground that's going to sprout, and we have lots of coconut trees. And he takes it to school, and he teaches the children how to make coconut oil. Chamorro language teacher. But they all help us in one way or another take care of our maintenance and stuff. So, okay, now the group hug.
Thanks, Ray. You want to hold that?
Yes.